Hello guys, this is Bryant Tubbs coming at you with another video. Today I'm working on a third sized piece of tipping point. Tipping point is a stainless steel piece. This one sits on a 2 foot tall pedestal. It has a ring on it. Indoor outdoor piece. Normally tipping point is about this tall. It sets on normally on a pedestal or tabletop, so it's like this portion of it is probably somewhere in here, and then this top is probably about half the length of this piece. So we made this piece for a lady about a month ago, and she had it in front of her condo, and there was a tree that was right behind it. It sits right in front of her garage, so the tree came out right behind it and went up, and she thought this piece would be large enough for that space. And like I said, it's next to her garage, the side wall of her garage, facing like the entrance to the condo, the street area, and she thought this piece would be large enough. But they had the tree cut down last week, and when after they removed the tree, it made the piece look a little bit small for that area. So she contacted us and asked us if we would be willing to take this piece back and make her a larger piece, and just kind of credit her some of the money for the large piece from this. And we said, yeah, sure. The piece is only like a week and a half old, something like that. So we just took it back. So we'll just sell it again. I mean, the piece is still brand new. She didn't do anything to it or whatever. We got it back and it looked just like it did when I delivered it to her. And so what we decided to do was just go larger. So we got some dimensions and came up with another piece. Same piece, almost exact, just larger. So what we have, this is the bottom portion. So as you can see, the bottom portion is larger than the entire piece. So it's going to be setting like this. And then this is the top portion. So we'll find the the proper angle and everything, and it'll be sitting somewhat like this. It'll be pretty much identical to the small piece, but just much larger. And so we'll go with probably about a 6-inch donut on top. And when I say donut, I'm talking about this piece here, because this is I think 3 inches, so we're just going to go up 3 inches, expand it up about 3 inches, and it's not going to be just hollow inside. We're going to make it like we normally make our donuts, like we use on like reaching and some of the stack pieces and whatnot. And so that's what I'm working on today. It's going to be all stainless steel. The base for the new piece is going to be the same as this one. It'll probably be just maybe a little bit shorter and a little bit wider on the bottom, because this bottom is around I think 12 or 13, and a new base is going to be probably 18 on the bottom, just to hold all the weight and the height, because this top piece alone weighs almost as much as this bottom piece. So we're going to have it'll be two sides, of course. It's going to be about this is going to be about 6 inches wide when we put the other piece on the back side of it. It'll be about 6 inches wide, and then the lower portion of this is going to be close to 6 inches wide. And so when she first came to our booth, she saw tipping point on the tabletop, small. She asked us if we can expand it, make it taller. She didn't want it to be more than 4 feet tall, because in their condo they have restrictions on height and all these different things. So we made it at the 4 feet. But then when she had the tree removed, she just said, just forget and just screw all the bylaws. I'm gonna do what I want to do. So she commissioned this piece. So this is going to be over 5 feet tall, almost 6 feet tall, probably right around 6'2", actually 6 feet 2 inches tall. And so she said, just forget the bylaws. I don't care. They can say what they want to. I'm not gonna remove it once I put it in. So yeah, that's fine. I mean, that's what you want to do. We'll oblige you. So that's where we are right now with this piece. So what I'll be doing next is I'll be putting this up on the table, and I'll be just kind of putting the skin on, the upper walls. Then I'll be able to take the other piece and lay it on top and weld that in and get the bottom, done. And then I'll go ahead and start building the top. The bottom portion is easy to do. I'll just, put the walls on, put this bottom piece on, then set the top on, weld everything up. But it's the top piece that's a little bit more difficult to do, because I got to put the top sheet on here, and of course then put the side on, and then this bottom piece I got to tack it, put it on, and tack that piece on. Then I'll go ahead and weld everything up here solidly, but I gotta leave this tacked, because when we put that donut on, I weld the donut from the inside. So after I get everything all welded up, I gotta take this bottom portion out that's tacked on, remove that, go in there and we'll drill the hole, and then weld it from the inside, so you won't see the weld. And so it's like you're building it, then you gotta take it apart to put the donut on, then you gotta put that piece back on and then weld it back up to finish it. So it's not difficult, it's just more time consuming. So that's where I am with this piece. So I will go ahead and get set up, and we'll just kind of take it from there. All right, we have the piece sitting up on the table now. We can, what I'm doing now, I'm just putting the walls on. I have the bottom piece laying on the table. This is for the bottom. Then just putting this wall up around it, and I'll put another wall on the front. Then I'll set the top piece in, tack that in, and then I'll put this bottom area on. So for right now, I'm just running some tacks along here. You gotta squeeze it together, get it tight as I can, because I'll be TIG welding it. And so I just want to get everything as tight through here as I possibly can. All right, so I'm gonna be just kind of squeezing it and tacking it. But I think what I'm gonna do is bring the camera in just a little bit closer so you guys can see this a little bit better. All right, you guys can't see me, but my mug, but you can see what I'm doing through here. I'm just gotta have this pretty tight, and I'm just tacking it. It's kind of open here, so I'm about to close this up and just tack in there. All right, here we go. I don't need too many tacks, just need it just enough to just hold it together pretty good. And what I'm using is 11 gauge and 14 gauge stainless steel. I think I'm gonna clamp this down right quick. just to keep it from moving around too much. And let me see if I can get this to work. So I'm just taking my hand, just kind of pushing this outer wall toward this part. Just running my tacks in. And I'm making sure this piece is down on the table. It's not elevated or raised up off the table, because if this is raised, when you put this wall to it and weld it, you turn it over, you have a portion of this wall sticking out beyond this piece. So you have a little lip on the other side of this, which you don't want. I want it to be, when I turn over, I want this thing to be level. I want the top of this to be level with the top of this as much as I can. So I don't have to grind away any of this metal to make it match this metal. So it's another thing to look out for. I keep saying I'm gonna buy a new welding table, but it'll be coming at some point soon here. But we're just still in the season. I really don't have time to be stopping and trying to put a welding table together. So let me move this clamp just a little bit. So the only thing I'm doing now is just following this around. What I think I'm going to do, I think I'm going to turn this over, just so I can take my clamps and clamp it up a little bit better. I'll be welding it from the outside, but then after I do that, I'll come back in and do some tacks on the inside. So I just turn it over. And just kind of hold it with my body, and actually I'll grab a couple clamps here. Just kind of squeeze it. That'd be a little bit easier on me trying to hold this thing. And again, this is the third version of tipping point that I'm making. Like I said, we made the piece that you saw in the video initially. The lady wanted it larger, so I'm just making it larger for her. I'm just trying to keep the customer satisfied as much as we can. But what I could have said when she asked us to do this, as far as taking back the other piece, I could have said, like a lot of people will say, we don't take back custom work, because that was something she ordered, custom. We normally don't make that piece, 4 feet tall. It's normally 2 feet tall. But I figured in this case, she wanted a larger one. Of course, she's going to pay for it. And I know we can sell the other one, because again, like I said, it's a new piece. So no big deal. But again, if I did not want to do it like this, I would have just said, no, we will not allow you to return a custom piece. But the piece was so nice, I didn't mind, taking it back and making her something larger. Just trying to satisfy the customer. All right, so it's just a matter of just running along the edge here and just pulling it in. And what I'm trying to do is eliminate gaps. I don't want gaps because I'm going to TIG weld this whole thing. So I want it to be as tight as I can get it, where these two pieces come together. Because if there's a gap, there's a potential for pinholes if those pieces are not, touching. So I just get it as close as I can. And when I was grinding these edges, I was trying to make them as smooth as possible so that when I get to this point, I laid this outer skin on, there won't be like large gaps. Because you have large gaps, it's a greater potential to get pinholes. And although pinholes are not the worst thing in the world, they can be, extremely time-consuming to repair. So if I can eliminate pinholes as much as possible, that's what I do. All right. Almost there. I think I'm gonna let this, I was gonna put a tack down here. I think I'm gonna let that kind of hang open so that when I'll put the other side on, get it lined up, and then when I put this bottom portion here on, I can take my clamps and squeeze those two pieces together and get it really nice and tight. And then I'll weld that, and I'll leave a hole in the bottom for moisture to escape out. So I think I'll leave that open. All right, I'm gonna flip this around just so you guys can see. So this is what it looks like now. I have the wall up, and now what I'll do is take the portion that goes here. I'm gonna line it up with this. I'm gonna line it up with this top edge, and then weld it on, because I want this side and this side to be, even. So when I stand this piece up, it won't be leaning to one side. All right. Let me grab the other side. All right. And I do like doing new stuff, and that's one of the reasons I went ahead and told her that we would do it, because I like doing this different stuff. I don't like doing the same thing over and over and over again, the same pieces. I like to change up, add something new. I don't know, it's just I just enjoy doing that, just doing something different and just making it work. All right, so I'm gonna line this up. When I was saying line the edge up, I want to line the top of this piece up with the top of this edge, then it'll be directly in line with this other side. Because if I don't do that, when I stand this piece up, it can be on a slight tilt to one side or the other, and I don't want that. I'm just making sure this is fairly even and level here. I mean, if it's not exact, that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be close to perfect when you're dealing with pieces like this. And I just have a couple pieces of cardboard and my welding pliers in here just to help hold this wall up so it won't fall down in there. So get my clamp. Again, I'm just closing these walls up as much as I possibly can. Trying to eliminate gaps. I don't want a bunch of spatter up here, so I gotta kind of protect this from getting weld spatter up here. So I do not want to have to be dealing with the weld spatter, trying to get that off before we put our patterns and whatnot in with the grinder. So I'm gonna just kind of protect this area a little bit better. All right. I just don't want to have to be messing around with weld spatter if I don't have to. So now it's just going around where it's tight and just tacking. There's a gap. I put the clamps on, just kind of tighten up a little bit. Not difficult to do. Just have to have an idea of what you're doing, that's all. Some of these pieces, a lot of these pieces that we make are like puzzles. I don't just cut metal out and just start welding it together. As I'm cutting, I'm trying to figure out how to put the thing together best, where we won't have a bunch of fit up problems and all that kind of stuff. Like with when you're putting a donut or a ball on or something on top of a piece, or putting it somewhere in the piece, you gotta think about when's the best time and how to attach that donut or ball or whatever it is to the piece. Can you just weld the whole thing up and then attach the ball or or donut or whatever it is you're putting on there? Or do you have to build it halfway, weld it up, and then come back, take some portion apart, and then add the whatever you're going to add to it? So it's you have some things to think about when you're doing this. But if you're just making this a basic piece, like a lot of people do, you don't have to worry about something like this. Like we're making the piece, what's it called? Stacks. The tall stacks. That's just straightforward. You just make all the pieces and then you start putting them together. That's a fun piece to make. But reaching, on the other hand, the piece reaching, that's a chore to make that piece. But we have someone that wants reaching. Actually, we have two people that want to buy the piece reaching, so I'm gonna have to go ahead and make it. I'm trying to stay away from it, but I'm gonna have to go ahead and make it. So, and we have another person that wants the piece S curve, which is we're normally making a tabletop piece, just like with this piece, but someone wants it 6 to 7 feet tall. So I got to figure out a way to make S-curve 6 or 7 feet tall 3D, because normally S-curve is a 2D piece, which means there's no form to it. It's just flat pieces of metal. You know, after we cut them out, we grind them and do all that stuff, and then we get welded together. But when you're doing, this is considered 3D. Just a single, if this was just a single piece, let's say a 1/2 inch piece of metal, and I was making the same shape, it would be 2D. But this it's formed, so you have a front and back, you know, front, back, sides, 2 sides, you know, the whole 9. So it's more of a form. So we consider it 3D. So as I'm making this piece, I'm thinking about how deep we need to put it in the base to make it, you know, stand and not wobble all over the place. So there are a lot of things that I'm thinking about as I'm putting this thing together. I mean, the larger you make the piece, the more stable it has to be, and I have to think about, you know, thinking about it structurally. What do I need to do to make this piece strong and not just look good, but strong and won't fall over, won't tip over. If someone pulls on it, some kid comes along and pulls on the donut in the top, I don't want the top bending down. I don't want the donut to come loose. So when you're doing stuff like this, you have to think of the public. What is the public going to do to this piece? Are they going to be pulling on it, banging on it? The woman's grandchildren coming over and hitting it with balls and all that kind of stuff. So it has to be a solid piece. It can't just look pretty. All right, so I'm getting somewhere now. So what I have to do now is put this portion on. So I have I guess we would consider this the front. This will be the back, side. So I just have to put this side on now. And then just put the portion back here in. And I think with this one, I'm going to put a little cap on this, as opposed to having just a hollow wall here and a hollow wall on the back side. I think I'm going to close this off with a little cap, so when that top piece rests on it, it'll have something to sit on, and I'll weld it here, I'll weld it back here, and I weld it on each side of the top piece that goes on here, just for stability. Normally when we make this piece, this comes to a point. On the smaller pieces, it comes to a complete point. And then when the other piece on top rests on it, it looks like it's kind of tipping. But as large as this piece is going to be, it's going to have the same effect, but it's going to have more material here. It has to be wider here, so that piece will rest on it, and I can weld it front and back here, and then weld it from this side and this side, because it has to be stable. All right, so what I got to do now, just take the piece that goes here and just kind of bend it. So let me just kind of move the camera so you guys can see me put this piece of metal in the English weld and just kind of shape it a little bit. All right, so I'm just going to put it in here. I'm just going to just gently roll it. I don't want too much roll to it, because this is not very much doesn't have a whole lot of arc to it, or radius, arc. But I mean, it has some, so I'm gonna have to go ahead and just kind of find it as I roll this. Just really gently. I don't want to put too heavy of a bend on here, because once you bend it, it can be kind of hard to get it to lay back flat again. So I'm just gently going through and just kind of just rolling it. I mean, I could use a slip roll, but I just really just don't need it, so I use this. That's what it comes out looking like. All right. So I was really gentle on my rolling, but as you can see, it really did make a big bend in it. So I just need to just straighten it out a little bit. Let me see here. I think I'll roll it just a little bit more here, just to make it a little bit smoother, I guess. All right, now I'm trying to straighten it out a little bit. And if you guys notice, it has one shiny side, then it has a side with the paper on it. It's a sticky paper that you just peel off. But when I'm tacking with the MIG welder, oftentimes I'll leave that paper on there. But sometimes I can't, because like with this has a paper on the back, it won't get a good ground to the table because it's sitting on this paper. So what I'll do, as opposed to taking the paper off, I'll just put my clamp on the bottom here, and that way I don't have to take the paper off until I'm ready to take it off. And I'm using my a Lincoln 140. I went ahead and fired it up. I normally use my the Weld Pro, the 210 LCD, but I have ER70S in there for mild steel, core 10, and I just didn't feel like switching it over, so I just have stainless steel wire in my my Lincoln welder. All right, so I'm just gonna lay it on here, because like I said, I want to get these corners lined up properly as best as possible. And then I'll just work my way down with clamps, just pulling things tight and all that kind of stuff. But the important thing right now is this. Let me see here. I think I'll grab a clamp, because this does not want to close completely. So I'll just kind of clamp it and slide it up a little bit. If I can get everything to cooperate. Not Not too bad. I'm gonna go and tap it just a little bit, just knock it back a little bit. A little bit more on this side. Not too bad. Get another clamp and clamp this edge here. Just to be sure it's tight. And then once I do that, clamp that, tighten that down and clamp that one. And go ahead and weld it. And then I'll go ahead and move that way. Let me see something here. Not too bad. I was just checking to see if one of these walls was leaning in. Doesn't appear to be too bad. What I think I'm gonna do is take and knock this over until it's flush. Then I'll take a screwdriver, pry bar and whatnot and pry this side up so it'll match this side. I don't want a lot of overhang. Not too bad, but it's a little bit more than overhang than I want, so I'll take my grinder and just knock some of it down, that's all. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put a tack here. Go ahead and move my TIG water out of the way. Don't need that just yet. And guys, my usual warning, wear a helmet when you're doing this. Like I said, I do sometime and sometime I don't. So, but for your safety at home, wear a helmet. We had a show this past weekend, actually on a couple of days ago, and we have another show coming up this week. So it's just been pretty busy, and then trying to fit this commission in between everything. I was going to just have, I told her it's going to be a while, probably a month or so, before she can get this thing. But I decided to just go ahead and do it for her. I'm trying to see if there's a gap in here. It looks like there's a slight gap, so I'm going to have to clamp this down a little bit more. I figured I'll go ahead and get it done for her. Really nice lady. So I'll just go ahead and get it done for her. I think what I'm gonna do is lay this on its side, just so I can see everything a little bit better. So I'm just gonna clamp it down. And just start welding it up. the beauty with this, it doesn't have to be exactly straight. I mean, if it comes off of the base and do a little twist and have the piece on top, that's fine, that's cool. It'll be different. So it doesn't have to be exactly straight. Like I've said in other videos, I mean, you know, certain sculptures doesn't have to be exactly straight. But like reaching that sculpture, it has to be pretty straight in order for it to work. But like this, and like the one stacks I was just talking about earlier, it can have a twist to it. It doesn't matter. So when you guys are designing your sculptures, you know, ask yourself, can it have a twist? Or does it have to be perfectly straight or fairly straight? Don't just build a sculpture and think about all those things later, because it'll just frustrate you. That's all. Just frustrate the heck out of you. So just kind of, if you need to draw it out, and just see what you need to do. I've done these things long enough that I have a fairly good idea of what the metal is going to do, if it's going to twist a little bit. Like when I start welding this up, I'm going to clamp it to the table, because I don't want to, if it twists, I don't want it to twist too much. So I'll just clamp it down. This clamp is sliding along this edge. So I'm gonna have to take one of these clamps, clamp it to here into the table, then put this next to this so it won't be able to slide as much. Before I started doing stuff like this, you know, clamping, it would be a lot more difficult to make sculptures, because things would be trying to slide. I would try to hold it with my body and all that stuff, trying to keep it from moving. And so after a while, I said it has to be a better way. So that's when I came up with this. I'll put this on, brace it in place, put that on and clamp it, and now it can't slide down this edge because it's fighting against this. So it makes it a whole lot easier. And as usual, guys, this channel is just really about showing you guys what I've learned over the last however many years doing this stuff. So you don't have to start from scratch. All right, I'm gonna flip it over. And basically just do the same thing. But I'll show you guys one thing here before I have to end this portion of the video. What I have here now I'm going to bring that camera in closer. I want you guys to see this. All right. Hopefully you guys can see this. There's a lip right here, all the way down. And what that is when I was welding the other side, and I said I was looking to see which side had kind of sucked in a little bit. It wasn't straight up, it was kind of angled in a little bit. It was hard to see with the naked eye, but I can see it now because I have it laying against this piece of metal. And this piece of metal here and this metal back here are the same thickness. And so I know that this piece is even underneath here along this line. I know this is even, it's smooth. The back side of this is even, it's smooth down here. So this is protruding up, so this piece is sucked down a little bit. So you run into a problem like that, if it's possible, don't just try and weld in here, in that big gap like that, because you have a lot of grinding to do, and if you weld it all up like this and then you grind it, you're going to have a bunch of pinholes and open areas and everything else. It's just not going to look right, because when you grind it down, you're taking majority of your weld away with that. And it's going to take you quite a while to grind this down if you're dealing with stainless steel. So what I do is I will take a screwdriver. I have 2 flathead screwdrivers. I will take, just say I'll take this one, go back here somewhere, pry it up. I want to get it even with that lip. Even if it's sitting down in there and it pops out, if this is tight and it pops out, that's okay. Because you can always take your screwdrivers and open this metal and pry it back down in there. But what I want to do, I want to get this as even as possible up here. So I'll open it up here and I'll put this screwdriver in, open it up a little bit more. And I'll take this back screwdriver out. Because my goal, there's a spot right here. I want to get this spot right here level. And I'll even take my clamps, because here's a open area, open gap here. I'll take my clamp and close it down. But I want to get this, all of this in here, as level as I possibly can. Then, since it's fairly good here, I'll tack that. And since it's pretty good up here, I'll tack that. I can't continue tacking here because there's a gap here, because I had the screwdriver in there. There's a gap here. So what I'll do is I'll let it down gently, and now a lot of this area is level. If this piece is now higher than this outer wall, you just take your clamp, just clamp it down until they're even. But this one is fairly even. I can take my hand and just kind of push it down. It'll even more so even. So since there's a gap, I'll just take my clamp now, put it here. I'm taking my thumb and just pushing this piece of metal down just slightly until it's until they're almost perfectly aligned. Then I'll just take my welder and tack that. So now it's going to hold all this smooth. Then I just work my way all the way down, just doing the same thing. And I'll show you. I was going to end the video, but I'll just show you guys a little bit more. So it's level here now. This outer wall is not sticking up higher than this flat surface, and the flat surface is not sitting up higher than this outer wall. They're level, they're even. So it's just a matter of just tacking it up now. But as I get to here, this flat section is sitting a little bit lower than the vertical wall now. So I can take my screwdriver, stick it down in there again. I like to go, if it's uneven here, I like to go a little bit further down, because if I go here and do it, it'll get level here, but then a gap will form. So I just want to go down a little bit further. Down here, now my screwdriver is between the two pieces, and I'm just pulling back, which causes this to raise up. Then take my fingers and kind of run it over there and make sure it feels it feels, pretty good. Doesn't have to be perfect because I'm going to be TIG welding this, and I can just take my TIG welder, and I showed it in another video. I'll have to remember which video it was. But when I'm TIG welding, if this outer wall, this vertical wall was standing up, say 1/8 of an inch over this wall, and it might be standing up because I can't get this to bend or flex. If this wall is, this vertical wall is extending over this wall 1/8 of an inch or so, when I TIG weld, I'll just put all my heat on that flat surface close to the edge, and that will suck this outer wall over onto this flat surface, and I would just fuse it. I wouldn't have to use any TIG rod because I'm using this outer metal, this outer wall, as my TIG rod. I'm just fusing the two together. If there's like a little gap area or something, I'll add a little bit of TIG rod just to fill that area, and I would just go all the way down the piece, just using this outer wall to fuse it to this flat surface. So having a little bit of a wall is not bad. It's not bad at all if you're TIG welding it. But if you're MIG welding it, it's a different story. So, but if you can, just do what I'm doing, what I'm showing you now. We'll just call it, we're lifting the flat surface to meet the vertical surface. We'll just say that. I'll just keep going down, move my clamp. And what I'll do anyway is as tight as this gap is, I will probably add, just say if my TIG rod is here, I'll have my heat, I'll dab it, and I'll just run it down. Then I'll dab, run it, dab, run it, dab. I won't be dab, 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 dab. It'll just be, I'll run longer without dipping the TIG rod because these gaps are so tight. All right, it's looking good. Looking good, and it feels good, so. And that is how it's done. Well, let me say it like this. That is how I do it. When you have gaps like that, or one wall is higher than the other. And this is how I make 3D sculptures. I'll make the front wall, the back wall, make the two sides, and then I'll lay this piece or whatever on a table and put the vertical wall to the table along this edge and just start tacking inside. It just allows you to have a better chance of getting this even. And if I'm doing it and it just doesn't seem like it's coming together, I'll take the piece like I did, turn it over. Then I can see how this vertical skin is laying against the horizontal skin. If it's on the table, even though I have it, I'm pushing it down with my TIG torch and clamps, I still can't see if these two are, fairly perfectly even. But if I flip it over like I just did and like I'm doing now, I can see exactly what it's doing. So guys, just little tips that I promise you, if you watch the channel, you'll get stuff like this. All right. Guys, this is what it looks like. And I'll move this camera back just a little bit so you can see it standing up. All right, guys. So this is what it looks like standing up. It won't be quite this tall, so I have to trim off a little excess material here. I mean, it's just about an inch front and back. But that's what it looks like from this side. I'll consider this a side. This will be a back. This will be the other side. And this will be, I guess, considered the front. But this is what you'll be focusing on, is this side when you're looking at the piece. So we can call this front, back, side if we want. I call it one thing, my wife calls it something totally different. So, but that's how it's done. And again, this is open on the bottom. So what I'm gonna do is go with a thick piece of stainless steel down here. Because this is gonna be sitting, I'm gonna cut a line into the, or opening into the base. This will be sitting down into the base. I'll be welding this back portion and the sides, and of course the front, into that base. But I need a thick metal back here in order, for that for the support. So when wind blows, people pull on it, and all that stuff, it won't be flexing. I need it to be strong because I'm not using a gusset on here. So it's going to just have to be strong and be able to stand on its own. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this video. And I think on the next video I will be making the top piece and just trying to figure out how I want to do everything with that top piece, because I gotta come up with a donut. I gotta make a donut, because with the one you saw at the beginning of the video, I just bought a large pipe and we have them cut down. Then we just clean them up really good, bought it on the top, and we paint it. But with this one being so large, I'm gonna have to make a donut for it. And I'll show you guys what a donut is right quick. Just let me turn this camera. So this, as I'm sure you guys have seen in other videos, this is the donut that I'm talking about, this thing right here. So this is a larger one. So I'm gonna have to make a smaller one for this tipping point 3. I'm gonna call it tipping point 3. So I'm gonna have to make a smaller one for that. I have to come up with, I'm not sure what the dimension will be, yet, but I have to come up with something. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for this video, and I will talk to you on the next. All right, as usual, peace out.